Welcome back to the desk. We'll slowly come out of slow motion. We've got our last set here for the night coming up. It's been a wonderful weekend. All 3 days now knocked out, all coming down to one single match. We're going to play here to see how the seedings wind up, because that's all very important. But we've got Sanguine, we've got Orbit going head-to-head. Very excited to see how these guys go. Like we said, Orbit and Sanguine already confirmed to head towards Super Regionals. So this is one of those matchups where we're going to see probably some pocket picks and some strategies that we want to see teams kind of bring out of the woodwork.
I wouldn't necessarily label it down to pocket picks or any kind of surprising picks. If anything, I'm expecting teams to run...
Boring?
Not necessarily boring, but I wouldn't say that they're really worried about playing up to like some kind of insane level of gameplay. I think they'd rather save the pocket picks and pocket strategies, although I'm not sure Sanguine really have a pocket strategy coming out other than the tank meta.
Yeah, it's something a little bit different. We'll take a look. Something a little bit the same is Murrdurr and his success. He's been doing it for a long time. Finals at Smite World Championship. Once upon a time, Murrdurr and his team trying to make it happen one more time.
Murrdurr. Sorry. Murrdurr, yeah. Yeah, so he's obviously a Titan boy. He's definitely got experience under his belt.
I used to play a lot with Murrdurr back in the day. He was like our support go-to before we had Trix.
I actually used to be on a team with Murrdurr, and it didn't go so great, but you know, he's always been a really solid support player. He really commits to the role. He's practicing a lot.
His god pool is like aggressive support. Like he plays a lot of Ymir, a lot of Ares, and
his gameplay and his knowledge of just the game itself is really good for their team, because they're a newly formed team, and he brings in the old all the old stuff, and he's like, yeah, let's do this. I know certain comps. Let's do this, this, and this.
As soon as Badger left, like we wanted to replace him with someone who was like going to be a leader for us, who had experience, and Murrdurr was the best choice. As soon as he was an option, like he knows so much about the scene, the game, and he's just helping us so much, like develop as a team the way Badger did for us.
You know, I think one of the first people on that video said it. He's a Titan boy. I think a lot of watching that team sort of splinter off into 5 different directions is very interesting. I'm not sure anybody's really going to forget that's where all those players came from, and it's interesting seeing how they've affected each team throughout the region. Almost every single player on that squad has seen some success, and Murrdurr for a while seemed like he kind of got the short straw being on the Sanguine squad, but here they are, go to Super Regionals, so something's definitely changed.
It's all about the experience right now that he brings to the table, like they were mentioning before. We saw that Nika, he's still new to the team, Dodo as well as Arkkyl, so having Murrdurr, having also Cherryo accelerate Sanguine into this position that they are now, trying to fight against Orbit for this #1 spot coming in Group A.
I think this was really smart, actually, by Orbit to go ahead and ban out the Ymir and the Athena, and they took the Cabrakan for themselves. So it's clear that they really want to target out Cherryo and really try and secure this first seed for themselves for Super Regionals, which I think going for Cherryo is probably the best decision they could make, because Cherryo is probably the biggest carrying factor on his team, in my opinion, as far as setup is concerned. And forcing him onto a regular jungle pick, we saw it happen last time Sanguine went against Orbit with those regular jungle picks, and I'm wondering if it might be a repeat.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think Cherryo is definitely the standout star of this Sanguine squad. His supporting cast has their moments, but this is clearly a group built around Cherryo and how well he can do. Raijin and Fafnir will be the selection. We saw Sanguine think about Naja, but not yet ready to pull the trigger. Meanwhile, Orbit, like we said, they're going to pick up the Cabrakan. This is not the first time they've done it. Qvo can play this character. Trixtank can play this character. Hell, even Xaliea can play this character. I don't think we're going to see Lob bring it towards the mid, but this isn't something brand new for Orbit.
I don't expect Xaliea necessarily to play this Cabrakan without the purple pot start. That's what he really leans on to try to get that early first blood around level 2. Sometimes he'll even run it with a Curse or a Sunder trying to get that first blood guaranteed. So more than likely, this is going to be QvoFred or Trixtank on the Cabrakan.
Yeah, I'm wondering also if Orbit's plan is honestly to just go ahead and take away Sanguine's entire strat that they've been playing so far this LAN. I feel like with the Cabrakan coming out and with the Raw coming out, I mean, they already have like I'd say 2 out of 3 of the most important parts that Sanguine have been trying to run, and I feel like they're just going to out-tank the tanks.
Well, for so long, I find Orbit just such an interesting case study. For so long, Orbit played their own game, meta be damned. right? We saw them they were one of the first teams to really bring that Neath to the mid lane. Xaliea has just always picked something weird for 4 years now. And the team in general has just had their own meta in a vacuum. And then we saw them this year sort of expand their knowledge, expand their gameplay into sort of the what is considered popular meta. And so they're used to playing their own game. They've adjusted to playing the meta game, and now they're playing somebody else's game. So it's the full turnaround coming out from Orbit. And frankly, you know, when you're a team like Orbit that's so individually talented, I think you can afford to sort of take away somebody else's picks and try on a different pair of clothes because you have your individual skill to sort of lean on.
They prefer this kind of style to go for the different picks coming out of OrbitGG. Whenever they pick a god, you don't know if it's going to go in 2, 3, or 4 different roles sometimes. So the fact that they've been able to make these changes, it doesn't matter who they're against even. They're willing to take these risks regardless. They're going to steal the strategy away from Sanguine. And I like the get ban from Sanguine because that's probably something Orbit was leaning on, this double Guardian composition.
Yeah, I'm waiting to see which side, if either, is going to be looking at the... actually, you know, with the Khepri and Bacchus and Get being taken off the table, I can't say that I'm super surprised if Sanguine opt for some kind of heavy hyper carry in the jungle. It's definitely a flex pick that could come out, but at the same time, I feel like Orbit would most likely just opt for a Kumbhakarna or an Ares even for Trixtank.
Cherryo's laughing about that. This is my least favorite character in the entire cast of Smite. Bakasura will be the selection for Sanguine. Look at the other gods around him. He's likely going to find his way into the jungle.
Dazer's confused, like he was just looking like, okay, I guess they picked Bakasura here, no problem at all. But the mindset for Sanguine here is they're expecting the double Guardian. They're expecting Xaliea to maybe run some kind of Guardian in that soul lane. So Bakasura would heavily abuse any Guardian in that soul lane, trying to go for some invades around the blue buff.
Yeah, one of the big things, Bakasura, it's been a long time since we've seen this character. Heavily basic attack based. He's got a steroid that doesn't increase anything per se, but adds true damage on top of what he does. So like Toli was bringing up, does very well against those Guardians. The Osiris is selected, so most likely Baka will be the jungle choice.
You know, one thing, though, that I know Orbit was talking about earlier, and I know that Funballer would really like to bring out is AMC. I know there isn't any room in this draft in particular, but I'm really hoping, if anything, we see a couple more spicy picks coming out out of Orbit, if not Sanguine, because the Baka is already a pretty spicy pick, so that'll be pretty exciting to watch.
And you know, when it comes down to choices like this, it's not just because these games, quote unquote, don't matter. Still fighting for seeding, but hey, Yaman plays Chiron mid. That was weird at one point too, right? Something has to get started every place. We've got Hinduman and Adonis on the horn. They'll bring us game number 1 of Orbit versus Sanguine.
Interesting compositions coming out here, Adonis. Obviously, a bit of a celebration. We've seen this before over in Europe and North America when teams have qualified for the Super Regionals, but there's still things on the line here. And a Bakasura, when things are on the line, interesting.
One game win for Orbit means that they are first seed no matter what. We need to have a 2-0 from Sanguine for them to take that. Again, going to be so important to stay on the other side of Energy's bracket. Now, we don't know exactly what's going to happen in Group C, but they're definitely the team you have to expect that comes out on top of that.
And Dodo on your screen there, he didn't actually realize it until I was mentioning it just off broadcast going, yeah, you know, more than likely, you're not going to see Energy if you get number 1. He's like, wait, really?
I think he's just happy to have qualified for Super Regionals.
Yeah.
This team was 8th seed. They had I don't think they had a single win, a sweep. They had a couple splits, but it was not good.
They've not beat anyone in this group before they came to the LAN.
There we go. I love this. A little bit of fun for both teams.
Kill him! Kill him!
Both have already qualified.
Kill him! Oh, Qvo, kill Qvo. Just kill Qvo.
That respect.
Come on, that's not respect. That's stupid.
Shout outs to both teams here.
Number 1 seed's on the line, man.
It's actually important. That's a lot of respect
just
for both
him.
teams.
Please! Please! If I'm the coaches, I'm so angry.
Oh, who did it?
Who did it? Who touched
it?
Oh,
it's Susano!
No,
they backed off.
Okay.
Okay.
Disappointing start to the day.
But look at that, Nika with the BM. He was the one who hit everyone. That's on Nika, man.
So, hang on, who's the first Hunter to get damage off, though? Can we see the damage charts, please? I want to see which Hunter came out on top.
I saw the Ram hit.
Oh, it's Rama. Rama's top.
GG.
Remember, the first Hunter to deal damage is the one that wins the game. We've already said that.
Every single time. It's never been proven wrong. It's just a fact of Smite. Just like, well, the first key seed curse used to be a thing, now not so much with Energy, but still, both teams, I think, really jovial, having come out on top. Both going to Super Regionals right now. Now it's all about seeding, wanting to stay on the good side of the bracket. Obviously, you want to face a weaker team in your matchups at Super Regionals here, but end of the game, I actually really love the draft coming out from Orbit, we saw them ban away the Athena and the Ymir in the first phase, and then first pick the Cabrakan, really shutting down that style that Sanguine had brought. They even drafted the Raw on their own side, really kind of adopting that composition style. It's a little bit different than we typically saw Sanguine run. Obviously, the Guardian isn't in the jungle.
And we do see a Cabrakan in the support role. Trix has pulled this out before, so it's not a big shocker to me to see this Trixtank support Cabrakan, and the Tremors actually hurting a lot there, the Sanguine boys early on.
And look at that, Sprint's going to be forced by Murrdurr there. That's one of the biggest strengths about this Cabrakan in the dual lane, is that early on, people do not have boots completed. It's only a little bit of bonus movement speed for both Arkkyl and Murrdurr, which means it's going to be so hard to get out of those Tremors. You either have to CC him or get out, and unless Murrdurr's using his hammer to stun Trix and not clear the wave, like, they're going to be stuck in it every time.
A lot of burst damage in the mid lane from Sanguine, though, with Bakasura jungle and a Raijin as well. The burst damage that can come out from the Regurgitate as well as the Drums of War can cause so many issues.
And you haven't seen, actually, Bakasura in quite some time, so this is interesting. I think the Bakasura would be so much more effective against literally any team in the world except for Orbit. QvoFred was actually the one to bring out the Bakasura in the online stages early in Season 3 after he had received his buff, where he was able to absorb the big minions and the mid-harpies.
Absorbing Arkkyl absorbs a lot of punishment there. Now out of health potions in this lane as well, with the build he's gone for. That just shows he's chugged through at least 3 health potions and 3 mana.
Not something you want right now. Arkyl's going to be stuck under tower for quite some time. I mean, it's an Anhur Cabrakan. It's a lot of burst damage. You can't take the risk.
We can't find words now.
Yeah, can't find words. I mean, honestly, this tournament has been kind of that entire way.
A little bit more surprising than everybody expected here coming into this. Obviously, the number 4 seed in this group, as in 8th in the SPL in Europe, are now making their way to LAN. And the number 1 seed out of Europe haven't been that clean.
They've lost a lot, and Xaliea might lose his life on the right-hand side. Surprise, surprise. Bakasura with first blood.
But look what he did. Level 5, immediate rotation, and abused the fact that he got level 5 before Xaliea did. The amount of clear that a Bakasura has in the jungle with the consume the minion can consume things completely other than buffs.
Other than buffs, but it's still really important that Nika saved his ultimate in that gank as well, which means he's going to be able to continue the pressure onto Xaliea once he TPs back into this lane, and he's going to be less susceptible to ganks if QvoFred wanted to answer back at all. There's also the opportunity that Sanguine utilized that first blood to start invading. Nika having his ult up is going to be important for that.
Well, you saw Arkkyl roll away under the tower there. Trixtank was around, so about to hit level 5 as well. And just signs of aggression from Orbit is enough to force Sanguine defensive.
Arkkyl has to be careful here. Not only has he burned through all his health potions, but he's already been poked out. And if he's not 5 by the time Trix hits 5, all it takes is that wall. You got nowhere to roll to except into death.
And Steel Boys are on the way for Cherryo here, already starting up the speed buff. Susano and Lawbster on the way here, but they're going to be too late to find it. And he's actually even going to clean the camps so he can see when the respawn happens.
He has the full timer on this, and this is something that Orbit's not going to have. I don't want to say Orbit gave up their speed, but they had to have known that the Bakasura is going to be looking to invade after the pressure onto Xaliea in the early game. As a Bakasura, you cannot be even. What you need to do is rotate across the map. Your passive giving you bonus movement speed when you kill a minion is incredibly important.
Oh, the snipe coming through. I'm not sure if he stole it. Sadly, not there from Lawbster. Nika picks up the blue buff, and now it's Lawbster in trouble. And we spoke about burst damage. Duke all you want in that heal. It ain't going to save you.
QvoFred comes with the knockup, but it's a little bit too late. Susano's not able to answer back, and Sanguine, a lot of people were saying they're a one-trick pony. All they have is the Raw and the Double Guardians, and they've already shown that they have a different strategy. This is, I guarantee you, this is something that Sanguine have been saving, this Bakasura. I don't want to, I really don't think this is something like, oh, hey, we're just like, we don't really care about first seed. Let's just play Bakasura. This is something they have planned and practiced.
So is this calculated against a healing composition and a Double Guardian composition to bring out Bakasura here?
It's possible, because one of the weaknesses of the Double Guardians is that you can get behind, and if you get behind as a Guardian, it's really hard to fight back into the game. The Bakasura also shreds. He has true damage on his Butcher Blades. It's going to be very hard for Xaliea and Trixtank to stay alive if they do get ganked by a Bakasura, at least until they get a couple defensive items.
Now, if you are a newer player as well, obviously Bakasura isn't something you've seen even too much in your casual games either here. But Bakasura does bring, like you said, true damage, which ignores protections for the most part, as we actually see a pressure onto Nika in this solo lane.
Well, actually, he goes underneath the tower there, which is a lot riskier, and you can see the rotations. No ultimate online for Nika. It's going to be hard for him to escape. You can see QvoFred on the
Just give vision to
Susano
Lawbster. That's all
closing
you
the gap.
need, just to make sure. I told you, Lawbster gets credit for the kill.
I was a little bit surprised there from Nika. I think he could have, obviously would have taken an extra tower shot, but definitely could have went to the top side. Going down guaranteed his death because that just spent extra time of him running around on the wrong side of the map, Orbit able to rotate and pick him off.
Well, now 3 members of Orbit grouped up in mid lane with that man advantage of Nika being down on the right means that Cherryo has to go and cover the lane.
And Arkkyl just continuously getting abused out of this lane right now. The gold difference is not too major. Obviously, the game has just started. Actually, they're dead even in gold, so Arkkyl doing a good job of recovering.
Left-hand side, Trixtank looking at Arkkyl, and Arkkyl knows this is coming. Forced to ult the moment Trixtank hits his as well. Nice snipes coming out from Arkkyl there, but when Trix doesn't dodge, it's not that hard.
Whoa, Murrdurr here as well, and it's going to be a stun, pushing into the wall. Trixtank trying to stay alive with the tremors, but it's not going to be enough. A successful rotation means Arkkyl picks up the kill for him.
Sanguine on the hot streak right now, counter-rotating, counter-engaging, or even hard-engaging onto the enemies of Orbit over and over again. I mentioned burst damage. They have a lot of it on this roster.
It's a lot. TheDarkDodo specifically. I mean, Raijin absolutely shreds. He had penetration boots online for that. It doesn't look like he's going to be going into the Dynasty plate helm like we see a lot go into. Once again, 2 Guardians picked up magical damage. Wants to just focus on kind of just raw power.
And the funny thing is, TheDarkDodo here as well. I mean, a lot of people this weekend been calling him out. TheDarkDodo have heard and things like that, saying he's got pulls limited and stuff. But he just pulled out Raijin, which he's not played all weekend. Nobody thought he had it in his god pull.
I mean, you gotta expect everyone has a Raijin at some point. He was so a part of the meta here. Cherryo, ultimate is online for him, so he does have a good chance to set up a kill on Xaliea, but with Xaliea seeing it coming, he's just going to back off, and now that's 2 speed buff invades for Cherryo. He's doing a great job of keeping up the pace. He's already set up 2 ganks and has stolen away all of QvoFred's jungle.
But that's what Bakasura wants to do, right?
Yes,
he wants to go aggressive in the jungle. On top of that, that regurgitate does cripple, which means Susano can't really do much up against him.
No, and like anyone with jumps, right? Obviously, Xaliea has one. QvoFred just trying to get some poke. I think he was just investigating that red buff, but quickly responded to by Sanguine.
He's trying to do invades himself. He's just not the master that Cherryo is.
The solo carry. That's what he's doing.
And Cherryo in the jungle is already level 10. Is working on the haste and fatalis, which allows him in the ultimate to continue to chase down. I'll apply the butcher blades as well.
And fatalis works so well with him just because he has those butcher blades, which give him bonus power and also that shred potential with true damage. And the fatalis means he's going to be able to stick onto you once he ultimates. It's also an AoE cone, which is important to note. Not a lot of people realize how important that is in team fights.
Big AoE cone as well. It just allows you to chomp down multiple members at the same time, not just a single target.
Right now, Gold Fury is up, and I'd expect Sanguine to go for that. We see a lot of Bastet players because you have the minions that can tank up the Gold Fury. Obviously, Cherryo going to be eating minions throughout, rotating, and when he's going to be able to pop his Regurgitate, they're going to shred through the Gold Fury. I would like to see Sanguine look for it if they can find a pick either in the mid or onto Funballer.
And they have been finding those picks so far at 8 minutes in. Orbit won't be too worried, though. We've got that double Guardian sustain comp again. They're the ones to focus the Gold Fury, but Dodo knows.
He needs to ult sooner.
Dodo knows, and he's ulting now. The drums come out, but Orbit get it with a very good snipe from Lawbster to secure it. However, the tail of the tape is not that good for Orbit as they lose at least 2 lives.
Lawbster in a little bit of trouble too. Pops his Sanctuary, so does manage to stay alive, and Sanguine, they need to get a little bit more off of this. If they steal this red buff in the boars and the back harpies, it's going to be a positive trade for them. They're actually in an opportunity to siege this mid. Orbit get the gold, but this is still an overall win for Sanguine.
And Lawbster was trying to get damage over the wall. They're not going to find it even in the jungle. Xaliea not going to rotate for this either, it seems. Meanwhile, Arkkyl bullying Funballer a little bit in this lane and forcing him to look to go back to base as well. All coming up Sanguine.
You saw Xaliea start to rotate in, and I go, no, I don't want to fight against a Butcher Blades Bakasura right now.
You're good. I'll just sit back. I'm not tanky enough yet. Yeah. I don't have Breastplate of Valor, so I'm not even going to go for it.
Let's go to the graphs real quick. I want to see kind of how big of a swing that was.
Going to pick up only the 1, and it's Nika, and Nika won't be too upset about that and just walk away. Throws out the tether to reduce the damage, and Trixtank's on his way, though.
What happened there was Xaliea was trying to catch Cherryo and fling him back towards his tower. He probably didn't have the damage himself. I think the jump was still up from Cherryo, but he had Trixtank rotating, and unfortunately, though, quick reaction time from Cherryo, able to sidestep the ultimate, get out of that range.
5-1 at the moment, then the Gold Fury is down. The gold lead, as you can see, is in Sanguine's favor, even though Orbit got the Gold Fury.
And I mean, sorry, we'll talk about the Gold Fury in a second. And also on that right-hand side, we actually did see Bakasura get forced out because of that, meaning Susano able to secure his speed buff. Very important for Susano to have that extra mobility.
The dream. After so many invasions so far, 2 speed buffs invaded. Getting your 3rd one, well, thanks for that one, and now he's going to have an opportunity. Back to the Hunter role, though. Arkkyl for me in this position. Been so far this tournament. He's kind of been outshined,
up and down. I want to
say
he's been up and down, but to be fair, he's got really good hunters in his group pool. Obviously, Funball has been phenomenal. I think
I agree.
Highest kills in just the group stages alone, despite QvoFred having phenomenal performances. And then Jermaine, I mean, the Pinnakill, like we've seen him be able to take any hunter 1v1. The only other person that he's really looking at there, I mean, he's just been good enough, I think. I think that's what kind of Arkyl's job has been.
I agree with that. Yeah, Funballer came to this tournament with 58 kills in that Hunter role, way above that of Arkkyl, who hadn't found many, and now we're going to see a duel.
Oh, and Arkyl's going to take to the sky very low. Needs all 3 shots to get this kill, but he misses the second one. Funballer going to be waiting, jumps a little bit early, but still finds the basic.
But now the rotation is here, and Dodo's looking for the cleanup. He gets the last hit of the ultimate, will secure it to call 4, and now the rotation is on for Susano, who's going to cripple his way away from that damage from Cherryo.
Look at that speed buff.
How long?
That speed buff coming in big right now. Dodo on the chase. There's the jump forward. Susano is going to dash away. Cherryo has no way to close this gap. The heal from Lawbster is going to be good.
Cherryo's
and that, I mean, I'm going to go back to how important that speed buff secure was. Like, that small play from Xaliea, forcing Nika to have to back off, same with Cherryo, allowing Susano to juke out in that
aggression.
spot.
Qvo forced out, and now Lawbster's been attacked as Fatalis is available for Cherryo to continue putting damage out.
Again, Orbit need a single win here. They don't need to win both games, but Sanguine really putting it to him this game 1. They stole away Orbit's composition, or at least a very similar style, but they don't really know how to play it and play around it. It's much different having that Guardian in the jungle as opposed to the 2 side lanes.
As this has started, though, very lucky. Hold that fort. Nika being pressured with the ultimate into the snipe.
Nice
off the mark from Lawbster. Stunned inside the heal, though, so extra damage, and Nika's still surrounded. A lot of the afterlife available, but he's not going to get away from that.
He just backstepped there. He knew he was dead. Nothing to get away with. The ultimate probably should have just been saved out of that situation. But left-hand side, Funballer, we saw that 1v1, does manage to get the kill onto Arkkyl just barely. And now being pressured, Murrdurr trying to pay a little bit more attention to helping Arkkyl out.
But at the same time, this is Anhur versus Rama as well, not just the individual players coming into play. Anhur does have a very good matchup in the early stages against Rama.
But I mean, if I'm Arkkyl right now, Cherryo has been making all the plays alongside TheDarkDodo. Just make sure Funballer can't get ahead, farm out, don't try and out-trade an Anhur in the early and mid-game.
Meanwhile, balls do go down. The pressure here with Murrdurr hanging around the corner. Trixtank wants to get back to farm this wave up and get the experience, but gotta be careful about rotating in there.
Yeah, you saw Funballer take the long path around. Trixtank kind of just distracting them more than anything.
Cheeky steal attempt from Cherryo, but he ate a lot more poke than he wanted to there. And will he be able to chase with the jet stream? No, he was off the mark with it.
No.
However, Xalia's on the warpath. The roar is out, and Cherryo knew he was dead. He stood still at the end.
Yeah, he had purification there, which he could have burned onto Xalia's ultimate, but QvoFred with the blink securing the kill. I don't know if that was necessarily needed from QvoFred, but it is important to shut down Cherryo. He has been all over the jungle right now. There was a gold lead of about 1,200 from him, but now QvoFred has closed that gap significantly, and you can even see the swing going back towards Orbit's favor.
Talking about swings as well, I mean, Orbit in the first set against Sanguine was a different story. This was pretty much done by this point for Orbit.
I'm pretty sure, and I'm confident that I'm right, that Sanguine didn't even have 6 kills between the 2 games they played last time they faced off.
It was a very low-kill affair for Sanguine.
Close.
And I think they've already done better than that in this very first game. And they're still in it too, but Orbit, as usual, happy to fight all the time.
And Orbit's got a really good presence in this dual lane right now. Funballer poking out Arkkyl repeatedly. Arkkyl a little bit too willing to take the 1v1s to try and trade out against him without really coming out on top in most situations.
It's also lifesteal coming into play in that duo lane as well. Obviously, Arkkyl not building into any just yet. Just relying on that Death's Toll, where the Assy now online for Funballer with this build. He will have an advantage just because of that.
Oh, Trix. A little bit worried that I was getting caught out there, but I think Murrdurr was just checking around the corner. Ward vision is in favor right now of Sanguine on this Gold Fury, and it seems like both teams now know that this is kind of the next line to take. Orbit were able to sneak the last one. I think they'll be a little bit more timid considering Dodo was able to find those 2 kills, and they got the red buff invade and tower off of that.
But Lawbster showed what he can do with that Ra, though. He did secure that with the ultimate coming out from him. And if he can just do that over and over again, I mean, TheDarkDodo has an ultimate that can respawn, but it's not of the same scale.
No,
Still I mean,
it's a single burst for tick damage, well, the Raijin ult will do more damage overall. You have to line it up. Instead, TheDarkDodo, I think, hit the taunt and the fear, actually trying to force them off the Gold Fury last time.
Well, QvoFred has his speed buff on, heading to the right-hand side here. Nothing available other than the potential gank onto Nika, I guess. And you can see those two still running on the right-hand side as Lawbster's farming.
This is pretty unfortunate for Cherryo, as QvoFred actually looks like he wants to set up a gank onto Nika. Nika got... Oh, no, it is going to be a full-on gank.
And Nika still has his ultimate available. The Tornado Typhoon will hit, sorry, but it won't really cause him an issue. It will under the tower, though, as QvoFred at level 15, and immediately the go time comes out from Orbit at the Gold Fury. But hold that thought, it's a reset as Funballer is in trouble.
Hey, all 3 shots, so just off the mark there. And actually a TP in coming from Xaliea as well after getting that gank on the right-hand side, just trying to force Sanguine off this Gold Fury right now.
Tier 1 tower falls on the right, and still Cuvo pressuring a tier 2. That's why Trix is running in. He don't care right now. He's keeping him busy.
He
but the shells popped, and he should care because Arkkyl and Dodo combined to just take his life.
Really awkward play considering Lawbster's ult was down. Same with Xaliea there. Like, Trixtank just seemed to be on a different page. His death is worth a tier 2, but I don't think Sanguine defend that regardless, and Cuvo's not even going to be able to take it successfully. Good response from Cherryo, but Cherryo right now had a really good pace to the game, but then his side lane started making mistakes. Nika overextended, got picked off twice. That time was the first real gank we saw. Before, it was just Nika out of position. And then Arkkyl taking a lot of 1v1 fights against Funballer, who was able to kind of come out on top of those. Now he's a little bit behind, and because of that, Cherryo didn't have as many opportunities to gank the side lanes or to contest buffs.
And because contest buffs is more about lane pressure. That's what you need it there for. However, Funballer taking a lot of free poke here. Arkkyl feeling himself now, especially with that coerce, that little dwarf on his shoulder, helping him beat down a little bit more.
And here's the benefit of Raw. Obviously, Funballer going to back, so doesn't get much help from it, but I think he just wants to make sure to be full health in case a Gold Fury happens. He actually just buys a tier 2 of Executioner there, not waiting for the full item.
The only person I feel sorry for this game is Lawbster, because he just doesn't want to do anything, because Cherryo will just chomp his face down every time.
I mean, this is also a different composition, because when Sanguine drafted Double Guardians in Raw, like the Double Guardian, one of them's in the jungle, and it's really about yeah, you're like hip to hip with them the whole time. And the Guardians drafted by Orbit don't have, I mean, it's weird to say not a lot of control. They're more focused on damage and diving backlines. That's what Cabrakan and Xing really excel about. Whereas before you have the Geb, the Ymir, right? Gods that can protect your mid laner.
I mean, Lawbster's on that scale of potentially being one of the oldest players in Europe now in terms of performance at the highest standard.
Yeah.
He's always been in the scene, and Raw has been one of his go-tos for such a long time. He's been around since the original days, so he knows how to play this god
Raw
anyway.
was the OG, one of the first gods that a lot of people kind of got into the game with.
Well, you get it free now still.
It's free. It was free, very easy clear, and then just the snipe. All you have to do is combine it with your team, and you can even, I mean, you can hit them freehand as well. A little bit harder than having a guaranteed stun on top.
There's some hot plays you can do with Raw, though, people don't underestimate. Like, throughout your one as well as the ult until they combine at the same time.
Really good for objective steals.
The jukes, using your blind as well, the Divine Light and your passive just to speed yourself up while dancing around, especially the auto attackers. But you can't do that against a Bakasura with that Fatalis and the AoE cone.
It's going to be Cherryo kind of shredding through him here. But Cherryo, on this Bakasura, shines when he's ahead. That's what you really need to do with Bakasura. Because he's so good at invading and setting up early kills, you have to make use of that. And he did at the start, right? We saw the 2 speed buff invades, we saw the red invade, we saw him gank the side lanes, 1 gank onto Lawbster, but then Nika just started getting really far behind, overextending himself, and like I said, Arkkyl also taking fights that he probably shouldn't have.
It kind of comes back to that deft onto Cherryo, though, on the right-hand side near those fire elementals that all changed. Here we go again, looking at Nika one more time. Been focused a lot by this Xing and Susano here, but with the sprint pop, Nika will just do a nice loop-de-loop and go back to his tier 2.
Had to pop the sprint there, probably gets caught up, but Sanguine, recognizing 2 members of Orbit on the right side of the map, going to start up this Gold Fury. Big issue here, though, is that Orbit's already ready.
Though, Cherryo wants Funballer, and Funballer
great impale.
Outplayed for days. Meanwhile, Gold Fury actually gets stolen by Orbit off that as well. Are you serious?
Look at Dread. Oh, right behind. The knockup's going to find 2. Now focused on Arkkyl. Dodo on the retreat as well, but Lawbster's pushing forward with the rest of his team. Right now, Sanguine getting devastated inside the trimmers of Trixtank. They can't escape. 4 members incredibly low. Funballer finds 1.
And now the boys still go on. Xalia's Roar actually picks up Murrdurr at the back. Nika's in trouble here, trying to juke out, but Lawbster's going to deny him an access point. Xaliea gets a double kill, I should say, as the goal view was stolen as well.
Not fast enough reaction times from Sanguine there. Not only did they not have their Bakasura on the Gold Fury, which is going to be their best shred, but also the rotations from Orbit. They were already in mid lane. Xaliea and Qvo were in mid lane by the time they had started it up. Like, you got to make that call sooner if you're going to make it.
Well, Cherryo did try to initiate that fight as the goal view was going on to try and distract him, but Funballer on his own, just
the
beautiful
impale
play.
I mean, all you have to do is basically survive the Butcher Blades, then the Bakasura can't really box you in the 1v1. Didn't even have to burn a single relic. That was just great awareness. You saw him jump away, Cherryo jumps after him, and then he was already ready for the impale. The impale doesn't hit. I mean, Cherryo has a chance to pick up that kill.
No ping complaints from Cherryo this time round, though, on that one. Like, that was just outplayed from Funballer.
I mean, it all comes down to, can Funball hit the impale or can he not? And he hit it. And it disrupted Bakasura. He wasn't able to keep chasing. Despite having the bonus movement speed from Fatalis, you actually saw Funballer just like run to his team, like support them and make sure he was in that heal with Lawbster.
And still got kills at the end of it by picking up Arkkyl. Well, QvoFred there, he won't be too happy because he did get his speed buff stolen. He doesn't care how many towers and phoenixes go down. He wants his speed.
I mean, he lost 2. You don't like that as an assassin, especially coming out of the jungle. And obviously Susano wants that bonus movement speed. It's really about moving around the map and being able to counter gank and rotate.
Not winning that trade, and now Arkyl's feeling. Now the Sanctuary's down. Second shot. Sorry, Sanctuary was up, I guess. Third shot will hit. One more rolls in. Desert Fury. Arkkyl 1v1. Trixtank's here. Is Trixtank going to let him out?
He's actually just waiting. I think he wants his teammates to pick up this kill, and he's going to give it over to QvoFred. I love that from Trixtank. He knew he could easily kill Arkkyl there, but with a roll down, the ult down, instead give it to your carry.
Spin to win for Xaliea online. Gonna throw 2 in and roar onto them too. It does reduce damage, and he's all about Dodo there, who now ults to bring him back in. 4 members against 1. Xaliea, the tank of tanks, is still going here. Not for too much longer though.
Perfect.
And straight into the Fire Giant goes Sanguine.
Cherryo had his ultimate up as well. All of Orbit had just backed. The call's coming. Lawbster trying to close the gap. His snipe is online, and Sanguine know it. They actually pull off of it.
And Nika is someone that can definitely deal with Lawbster here at the same time. Fire Giant does get reset finally, but QvoFred cleans up Dodo, and now Cherryo goes down to him as well. The assassin in the jungle stepping up big.
And that is just devastating for Sanguine. Now it's going to be really hard for them to fight back into this. Tier 1 and mid going to be siege. It's only Nika left to defend. QvoFred's low, but we've already talked about it. The raw heal's so important in this tournament.
On offense as well is where raw really shines, because the amount you can siege the minions up, keep them topped up, but also your team to continue the siege over and over. A little bit more difficult on defense though, Adonis, because of the fact you group up and stand still.
You're basically relying on them not being able to burst through the heals. It's much more effective as this out of combat tool. Not able to get that tier 2 though. Trix actually rotating up to the right-hand side.
Split push Cabrakan, let's go.
I think they're baiting Nika in. You saw QvoFred looping around, and Funballer's soloing the Fire Giant, but he doesn't have the damage right now.
Snipe, not going to connect again. Lawbster missed a couple of those today, but now we're going to see a fight around here. And you saw Arkkyl looking for the snipes on Funballer, who juked him out quite nicely.
And Murrdurr going to jump away as well. Sanguine, I mean, that was an awkward spot there for Orbit. Funballer starting the Fire Giant, but he knew even if he got poked out, he still had the raw heals, and he's going to be able to successfully stay healthy. Probably go back to farming there. You can see straight to the back Harpies, but both these teams really paying attention to this FG.
Yeah, the wards are coming out from Orbit there with all those backs coming out. Only Xaliea left to hang around to make sure he can defend. That has a sentry in place, but he doesn't want to drop it just yet until his team comes back.
It's all about defense, right? If you drop your sentry in front of the other team, they're just going to immediately clear it. Instead, make sure you have the protection that you need. Sanguine, though, the question now is going to be this Bakasura, and it's very similar to the games we saw earlier with the Alquang jungles, where he needs to be able to get to the back line and find someone left alone.
Is a completely different style of play for Cherryo this game than what he's run all weekend here, because you can see he's got no assists on this Bakasura at all. If he finds someone, he should kill them. Dodo!
Just absolutely brutal. Qvo is going to get stunned under tower and eat the dot from the Fafnir, and here comes Cherryo as well. The cripple's going to be effective, and Murrdurr answers back.
Well, that was okay, considering, but QvoFred was like, is it Christmas already?
I think so. Lawbster with the snipe, shelled at immune a lot of that damage, but still trapped inside the washing machine in the walls from Trix. Funballer over the top finds one. Funballer finds the second. Cherryo now on full retreat, jumps over the wall, and Funballer's going to chase.
Fight a little bit more. Impale is available, and he gets purification for free just because of the pillar.
And now it's going to be a tier 2 tower for Orbit. Funballer going to be splitting up from his team, going for this Gold Fury. He knows Cherryo is just retreating right now. He sees him in the mid lane as well, doesn't have to worry about it. Orbit, it was already kind of in their favor. Now it's been completely opened up. 1,500 gold straight from the tier 2. Going to be almost 3,000 from the Gold Fury.
I was thinking it worse because tier 2 on the right's about to fall as well here. It's on its last legs with the minion wave there and 3 members of Orbit. The final tier 2 tower remaining for Sanguine will now fall.
Everything happened at the exact same time. 2 kills, 2 towers, and a Gold Fury. And now this lead that was manageable for Sanguine is going to be incredibly hard to come back into. Cherryo level 19, Bakasura in the jungle. Like, you don't want the Bakasura late game against a composition as tanky and as sustainy as Orbit.
I also see an issue for Sanguine here is that their actual defense at Phoenix's isn't the best for wave clearing these minions out either. It's going to be a lot of real responsibility on Raijin more than anything, I feel.
And that's not anything you want. You want the Raijin to really be utilizing his abilities in team fights. It's a little bit easier for Ra, who can just use one ability once to clear the wave. Raijin has to channel it, and he's also got to sit close to the minions, which opens up opportunities for him to die.
And when those minions do get in range, if they're sustained up from Ra too, it just adds to the pressure
that's
going to be on Sanguine at their Phoenixes. But first of all, Orbit won the fire.
Yeah, and right now they're in a really good position to force this. Lotus Crown has been completed for Lawbster. They're going to be tankier. You could see Susano also completing his build, going for that stone-cutting sword. And this is just a bait for a fight, not necessarily a commit.
Oh, Trixtank going in on Cherryo, though. Going to force his ultimate out in response. Trixtank taking a lot of poke. It's still alive for now, though. And actually, Funballer will pick up Nika as that goes on. Lawbster getting himself a double kill. Funballer wants a double himself and going to collapse in for Murrdurr. A couple more hits should do it, but Lawbster says, no, my friend. All you do is leave me isolated and alone as a team. I'm taking a triple.
Dodo has accepted his death. It's going to be a deicide. Give it up on, but he knew wasn't going to be able to get away from QvoFred. Probably going to be game off of that as well. 30 seconds, the lowest respawn timers. Orbit straight in with 1 win. They secure first seed for themselves at Super Regionals. They're going to be piling in, and Orbit, they came in and they've shown us a full range of tricks.
A full range of tricks. Tanks, not just tricks though, but Sanguine, they came out with a lot of stuff as well. I think both teams here today performed very, very well over the weekend to get to the Super Regionals.
Yeah, Sanguine, I mean, shout outs to Tolly too. I think you as well, I think you guys were the ones to predict Sanguine to actually come out second.
Not
it
me.
Wasn't you. It was Tolly though.
Aggro and Tolly did.
That's it.
I was dig. I was like, listen, this Sanguine came in, just from my point of view, Sanguine came in not winning a game against any of these teams. And then the first game of LAN, what do? They don't win a game and they get stomped by Orbit.
To be fair though, this is a completely different Sanguine than we have seen in the past. They brought out a style and a composition, very old school. Season 1, I think beginning Season 2 as well, that tank style. But they are facing up against one of the best teams in Europe, and I think that experience shined through. We saw the adjustment made by Orbit in that first game here of this final set, just taking away the Guardians from Cherryo.
Well, we talk about experience, though, and Sanguine's experience here at the LAN is what's the real driving force for them.
Really helpful.
This is their first time at LAN as a team. A couple of them have been to LANs before, but not many of them. The only experience has been Cherryo and Murrdurr.
And also the ability to just brush off the losses. Nika, I mean, he looks very happy on camera. He actually said, though, behind the scenes that he did feel very tilted after their first losses against Orbit. But since then, I mean, they've just been great. Very consistent. We've only seen one style of composition from them work out. Obviously, their assassins did not pay dividends against Orbit. I think they're going to need to expand their god pools come Super Regionals, but at the very least, they truly earned their spot there.
Completely agree. Let's see what the analysts have to say after Orbit have now secured themselves the #1 spot in this group.
Thanks a lot, Hendon, man. Still sweating after that hot Ross snipe to steal the Gold Fury. What a fun game to really watch and just really take all in. This one was really one for the memories, honestly. We have the two teams already solidified as far as where they're going and where they're headed, but how they played here to bring this one out, always a good one.
I like the flexibility between both teams being able to switch their picks. Bakasura hasn't been picked or banned yet in this tournament, now being played by Cherryo. Had some success in the beginning of the game, but not so much later on. And then I like Papa Lawbster on the raw yet again, just showing us what he's truly capable of.
Like I said, I mean, Taco and I remembered it. That's Lawbster's old school go-to pick. It's been a couple of years now, but Lawbster digging deep and bopping hard and bringing out the raw pick.
Yeah, Papa Lob, he's definitely a player you can always rely on to be able to consistently perform, even on these picks that he hasn't played in a while. He's just such a strong mechanical player that, like, even now, you can just see, like, his snipes are just always on point. He is just someone that you know, if you get anywhere near this guy, he is most likely going to kill you.
It's a tough one to come up against. Look at that, the trip skis for Lawbster right there, and that was an incredible moment in the middle of the game and watching that happen. And of course, what these teams are all fighting for is our second half of the regular season. They're headed to Super Regionals, and Super Regionals is going to happen a little bit later on. You can find all the details November 23rd through the 27th. Not only will that be the Super Regionals, but we'll also see the Console League there as well the week before. So you want to tune in all throughout the month of October and even November to catch all of the high-octane stuff going on here. hi-rezexpo.com and, of course, esports.smitegame.com is the best place for all the info. And if you want to follow somebody, well, you should follow me, f.ny, but also Smite Pro. That's where most of the more important info is going to come out anyway. So we've got Orbit coming through, numero uno, and then Sanguine following up. It's been a fantastic weekend so far. We've had 3 days of competition. Anatoly, real quick, what was your, actually, take as much time as you want, what was your highlight of the weekend?
Honestly, my highlight was the beginning of this last game because both teams were just grouped up in middle lane and they were just having so much fun together. They were just basically dancing around without a care in the world. They knew that, like, they basically solidified their spot into Super Regionals, so they're very carefree right now. They have another game going forward in the second one, but it's still Orbit's chance right now to really shine.
Exactly. We saw game number 1 come out, a couple of spicy picks. That Bakasura, like you said, it worked out early in the game, but we'll see. It didn't work out too late. I wonder if we're going to see anything else. You mentioned the amusing cop.
I would like to see an amusing cop coming out from Funballer. That would definitely be an entertaining pick and one that I think Orbit would feel very comfortable on for sure. Also, not to mention, I think that it would give the team a little bit more flexibility. As far, I mean, if Cherryo is willing to pull out Bakasura, why wouldn't Funballer pull out the AMC?
Yeah, I mean, I want to see it. Here's the message to Funball. If you don't do it, no fun balls. We want to see it happen.